And this week, we're going to take a little break from animation-related news, and we're going to be looking into a YouTube channel. No, this is not mine. This is actually a pretty big YouTube channel on the website, which is CinemaSins. And my god, this week, did it go into some hot water, seriously. Because what basically happened was that CinemaSins decided to go and release one of their usual everything is wrong with this movie type of video. So they decided to go and release a 20-minute video called Everything Wrong with Kong Skull Island. But what ended up happening, like what those pilots and American militants did when they entered upon Skull Island and then confronted with Kong, they messed with the wrong guy. Because the director of that film, Jordan Vogt-Roberts, went onto Twitter and made a massive rant about CinemaSins because he is sick and tired of their crap. Allow me to read you this Twitter thread that he created, or at least sum it up. He stated, "Mystery Science Theater built something artful, endearing, and comedic on top of their foundation of other people's work. It had merit to itself. Things like CinemaSins simply suck the lifeblood of other people and are often just wrong about intent or how cinema works. Is terrible. It's pretty much terrible." And what follows afterwards is that he would bring up a series of examples of how CinemaSins is basically wrong with the way that they would present cinema, or how their little nitpickings would go way too far. So he has some examples right over here with a few movies. You can go on his Twitter account, which is @Vogt-Roberts, to go and see for yourself what examples that he portrayed with basically what's wrong with CinemaSins and how they would screw up with their portrayal of cinema. So going back into the tweets that he brought in, anywho, I just wanted to point out why these videos are infuriating. They're often just wrong or think they're smarter than you. I love film criticism, and I love reading negative reviews if the author makes compelling and well-written arguments. To anyone who thinks this video makes me mad or hurts me, it doesn't. I just want to point out a few obvious examples that are just wrong. It just makes me sad to get, it just makes me sad they get so many views and contribute to the dumbing down of cinema as they siphon other people's work for their own gain. It's like when Trump lies on camera just because he can. It's infuriating, and there are people stupid enough out there who listen to him and CinemaSins. Which, by the way, I kind of added the stupid enough part, but anyways, let's get back to business. Anywho, have a good day, go watch a movie you've never seen before, and actually discuss with someone instead of focusing on reductive crap. Maybe I'll return to this and watch their entire video if it doesn't make me hammer a nail through my dick and point out more errors. It just gets me that a lot of things get critiqued seem to have a lack of understanding of cinematic license and has an odd disdain of film. I make movies because I love film. These guys are just trolling the art form we love and profiting from it while dumbing the conversation. And that's basically the whole thing, is that John Vogt-Roberts brought up the big problems of CinemaSins and the negative impact that it has in cinema in general. And what happened afterwards is that there are these giant threads, and I've seen so many people talking and coming out that they also hate CinemaSins as well, and that it's not necessarily a good YouTube channel. It's kind of like Watch Mojo in a sense, where there are a lot of people who would watch CinemaSins and that they are subscribed to CinemaSins, but very few people would actually come out and say that they enjoy CinemaSins, that they think it's good and stuff like that. And honestly, if I may put in my opinion on CinemaSins, it's not that I hate that YouTube channel. I don't think, like, it's a disgrace to cinema and stuff like that. I just got bored of it really quickly. Honestly, I just think that they just plain suck. I mean, it was enjoyable the first few videos that they made, but then eventually it just starts to get old and I kind of got out of it pretty quick. For me, it just feels like they're just telling the same jokes over and over again, because the whole point of the channel is to just pick a movie and just nitpick the living crap out of it. Just nitpick and point out all the small little details and just poke fun at it every single time. And the more that they do it, the more that it just becomes less funny, it's more annoying, and it feels a bit more mean-spirited. Because down the road, watching CinemaSins is like checking out a movie with a spite-filled snob. That's how it feels. I mean, I understand when you would watch a movie with your friends and sometimes they could talk over it and put in their own comments, but that's all for fun, and you could tell that they would be enjoying the movie. But with CinemaSins, they feel like a total snob, and they would just lean to you and just like, touch you on the shoulder just to make their own stupid comments. It's like, oh, this thing wouldn't happen. Oh, that thing makes no sense. Why would she do that instead of doing this? Just do that every single freaking time, down to the point where now it just feels like they're not watching the movie anymore. They're just looking for an excuse to go and make their dumb little comments, and that's it. That's my problem with CinemaSins. Maybe it's a different case with everyone else, but that's kind of my issue. It's just that, it gets old quick and it can feel mean-spirited, and overall, it would honestly ruin the movie. Like, if you would watch a CinemaSins video pointing out everything's wrong with one of your favorite movies, they're just gonna nitpick the living crap out of it to where, you're not sure if you would feel like you could enjoy the movie again, because they would constantly point out that, oh, this movie has problems, this movie has problems. So, that's all it is. It picks a movie and it continuously hammers down to its audience that this movie has problems, this movie has problems, this movie has problems, this movie has problems, It's just not fun, it's annoying, and eventually, you just want to tell them to just shut up and let me enjoy my film, please. I mean, good God, it really does get annoying. And what's actually very interesting is how it ends up being very popular. I mean, keep in mind, as I'm recording this, they have over 7 million subscribers and is easily one of the most popular YouTube channels related to movies or just talking about movies in general. And honestly, it is a little bit sad to see that people would really go and buy into it, because they really are profiting out of, the negativity on movies. They really are profiting out of people who want to see movies being bashed, no matter what they are, because people on the internet, they're always hungry to go and see a movie be destroyed. And like I said, regardless if they would be good and bad. And I say this speaking through experience, because some of my most popular reviews that I have done are movies that are bad and that I would deem them as bad and would give them the AniMat seal of garbage. Some examples that I can think of, they would include Norm of the North, of course, the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films, Hoodwink 2, Ice Age Collision Course, and pretty soon, there's also the Emoji Movie that's quickly climbing up in popularity, and I wouldn't be surprised if that would end up becoming my most popular review, because people enjoy it when they would see me bash this movie and point out all the frickin' problems and stuff like that. And the same can be said with other animation critics on YouTube as well. Like, there's Mr. Enter with his animated atrocity series and how he would constantly bash on how bad Cartoon Network is nowadays and how Teen Titans Go is a terrible show and stuff like that. And then there's also Saber Sparks, who has found such massive fame by pointing out that many big animation studios, they pretty much suck nowadays. He would say that they are ruined, rather they be DreamWorks Animation, Sony Pictures Animation, Cartoon Network, or Nickelodeon, with his What's Ruining or What Ruined series. And there are even YouTube channels that are completely devoted to just bashing media, like not just movies or animated films, but just plain bashing films, TV shows, video games, and so much more. You got I Hate Everything, you got Your Movie Sucks, and of course you also got CinemaSins. Now, I'm not pointing out that these channels are bad for doing what they do. Some of these YouTube channels are great. Like, I've seen Saber Sparks' recent video of What Ruined Sony Animation, and it was actually really, really good, and I highly encourage you guys to go check that one out. But the thing is that, like, those examples that I point out, they actually say a lot more about the viewers more so than the creators. So if anything, I wouldn't necessarily blame CinemaSins in itself for doing what they do and how they ended up being so popular. It's mostly because of the audience and their unquenchable thirst to see movies being bashed all the time, regardless if they can be a masterpiece or if they could just be plain Emoji Movie garbage. You know what I mean? Now, there is one defense, however, that I keep on hearing, or just the one defense that people would say about what is good about CinemaSins. And that is basically that you shouldn't take that YouTube channel seriously. It's all meant for fun and games. Where CinemaSins, it's not a place to find actual film criticism. In a way, CinemaSins is very similar to The Nostalgia Critic, where that one, nobody would take them seriously as real critics, you know? Like, they're not professional journalistic critics, you know what I mean? They're pretty much entertainers, and the flaws of these movies are actually their material that they would use for comedy. So they're not critics, they're just entertainers. But again, at least for me, what doesn't work with CinemaSins is that they're not really good entertainers. They're just telling the same joke over and over again to the point that it's just no longer funny, it's just annoying, and it's mean-spirited, where it's just basically bashing the movie regardless of which one it's talking about. It's just ruining the experience of what the movie is trying to do. And even with Kong Skull Island, I will admit, my personal thoughts on it are that it's not the best movie I've seen. The story is not really that well written, and some of the characters are a bit of a bore. But I will say, though, it is a really awesome popcorn flick. The visual effects are really awesome. The action scenes are great. The moments where Kong would fight off with the giant monsters, those are really cool as well. And there are some actors that are actually quite entertaining. Samuel L. Jackson as Samuel Jackson, he really is one of the highlights of this movie. And John C. Reilly is awesome. He's easily the best character in the entire film, so definitely major points to him. So overall, it makes a great popcorn flick where if you want to see giant monsters fighting each other, then this is definitely a good one for you. So I actually did enjoy Kong Skull Island. Now with CinemaSins, with their freaking 20-minute video of just hammering in of this movie has flaws, this movie has flaws, this movie has flaws, it just gets annoying. I don't think I can even go through the entire 20 minutes of that thing. And if you guys enjoy CinemaSins and you still enjoy what they do, good on you. At least, you go enjoy it, go have fun. But for me, yeah, I could definitely see the problem with it, and I could definitely see why many filmmakers do have problems with CinemaSins, All it's doing is just feed on the negativity that audiences want to see for these movies to be simply bashed.